What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. And I gotta say, episode 9 of Bel-Air was definitely interesting. There was a lot of dramatic stuff that happened. A big decision was made at the end. And I gotta say, I did enjoy this for the most part. So let's get into the full breakdown of what happened in this episode. The Banks family gets ready to go back to Reverend Lamont's church after some time. Ashley wastes no time to let the church know her opinions of their leadership. Uncle Phil wanted to check to make sure, that the church shuttle was on time and in good shape for election day. Hillary meets an old friend who's a big time social media influencer, but left her hanging when Hillary asked her about collabing together. Will confides in Carlton that he wants to learn more about his father, but Carlton had to go sing in the choir. When it was time for him to sing, though, Carlton started to sing his best until he had an anxiety attack. Yo, my man Carlton can sing. Listen, I was up there singing with him. He saw the best in me. Woo, okay, Carlton, go ahead, bro. But look, I ain't gonna lie. Like when he started cracking a little bit, I was like, ooh, like they got me. Because look, if you've been in a black church, you know that happens. It happens. And shout out to the church in this case for being there and supporting them with the good old, it's all right. It's all right. Because, like if you've ever been in front of church like that and you've been messing up or whatever, sometimes you just got to hear that, So I love that they incorporated it. That's so on point. So great. But look, I like the fact that this, I think, was a more relatable experience for Carlton's anxiety, because a lot of times we sitting there talking about like, you facing the pressure of school or facing this like that might not be that much, but I think a lot of people can relate to just stage fright or just being nervous for public speaking. That's something a lot of people share. So that was an excellent example of them showing like just how that anxiety is actually a real thing for him, and not just like a Carlton problem only, right? But look. Okay, I think at this point in the series, we get it. Ashley is the social justice crusader, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. But I gotta say, and I know I'm a little biased, okay? I'm putting my seminary hat on right now. But I gotta say, like, hold on, the writing for her character has some nerve to just come up out of nowhere and suggest policy changes for a church that she ain't been to in years. Listen, all I'm saying is put a little something in the collection plate, like volunteer for a ministry or something. I'm just saying, before you come in out of nowhere, you ain't even been in the church, like you ain't been active or nothing. I don't know, like how you just gonna be like, hey church, you should run your church this way and this is what I think, like, but you ain't done nothing. All I'm saying is, be the change you want to be the change you want to see, like at least go in there, volunteer, and maybe you could be the head, in certain positions or whatever, and represent the LGBTQIA2 as much as you like. That's all I'm saying. That's all. I just thought it was a little audacious, just gonna walk in there and just be like, I think y'all should run this way. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but I just thought that was a little bold. Now moving on to Hillary's situation. Her and the other influencer girl, I think, I want to put a little context onto this because I think she left her hanging for two possible reasons. And maybe we'll find out which reason it is in the next episode or sometime in the future. The first reason I think could probably be because of the sexy chef situation. That might have actually tainted Hillary's image. So like a church girl, probably won't want to be associated with the likes of Hillary at that point, especially with her social media presence. Now, there is another possibility here, and I don't know again which one they're going to lean with. But there's a large gap in between Hillary's followers and this other church girl's followers, right? So like keep in mind, I think Hillary had like 75,000 followers or something like that. But the church girl had like 10.2 million. Y'all, that's a big gap. I get it for people that don't have social media followings. They both sound big, but when you're in that social media space, that's a huge difference and a huge gap. And I think, it's important to understand like why this might matter, in terms of collabing. Like, so let's say, for example, if you're a smaller channel, and you go to a larger channel, you actually gain something by being there, right? Like, you get more eyes, you get more exposure, you get more subscribers, more followers. So it's a really big benefit for a small channel to be seen and presented on a larger channel. However, the same does not apply to a larger channel going to a smaller channel. Because let's just take it like this. If the church girl were to take her, if she were to go on Hillary's platform with her 75,000, the church girl probably like adds 75,000 fans every month and loses 75 and probably doesn't even blink an eye, because like the difference for her is so big. So, when you're talking about collabing, you have to make sure that it's mutually beneficial, because at that point it only benefits Hillary to go on that bigger platform, but she's not offering anything of benefit or value to the church girl. So maybe that's why she was kind of like, yeah, I see you and your little channel, but that ain't gonna do nothing for me. Like if I go on your small channel. So anyway, I think that might be it. But we'll have to see if I still kind of think it's the sexy chef thing, but we'll see what they end up going with. Let me know what you think. If you think it's the sexy chef issue, or maybe it was just the lack of benefit of being a smaller channel versus a bigger channel. I have to say, I also really enjoyed the pastor's message here too, talking about serving two or more masters. And you got to choose the one that loves you back, right? But there's a real message here with this, and we'll come back to that later. Aunt Viv goes to talk to Ashley to see if she'll be willing to open up about anything, and Ashley just brushes it off. Will tells Hillary that Carlton likes to party, LA style, and Hillary was shocked. She tells Will to go talk to Carlton about it. Will checks in on Carlton playing Fast and the Furious, and Carlton opens up about the complexity of his anxiety issues. Hillary asks Jazz for some help in getting her sign back from the influencer house. Jazz offers to cook her dinner, but she tops that offer by saying that they would go to her hotel instead and order a little room service. Meanwhile, Jeffrey comes through with Will's request and has a full report on his father's whereabouts. Okay, Jazz and Hillary getting the room service instead. Yo, that was a smooth move. You saw Jazz was like, oh, word. Word. We going to your hotel room. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Hillary. No, but listen, so look, Carlton's uses of drugs to cope with his anxiety, I really think that they're bringing this more to a serious light. I know that drug use obviously is always a serious thing, but a lot of us, I think, were making fun of it, just because it was such a departure from the character's nature, in the comedic show. But I do like the fact that they're making this real for him. Like, he has these anxiety issues. They I don't know. He doesn't really know how to cope with them, and he's using the drugs to deal with it. And he's got a lot of pressure, from his family. He's got to live up to, this standard of perfection for his father, and he wants to make sure everything goes right for his political career and all that. So I'm glad to see Will and Carlton kind of coming together on this, having like a real intervention type of moment. However, I have to say that a lot of this is also coming from a lack of communication. I mean, notice how even Hillary, as you would think, as being the older sister, probably being connected on a different level than, with her siblings than her parents would be, you would think that she would at least maybe know, about Carlton being on drugs or whatever, but she was clueless. It seems like that the parents might be clueless also. But again, this is one of those things where you need to be able to communicate, like, because I bet you one little sit down conversation about all the pressure that he's going under and all that, And his parents would either ease up on him, love him more, or probably just get him the help that he needs, therapy, whatever. And a lot of this stuff could be avoided. So, once again, communication is key, y'all. But Will learning about his father is clearly going to impact a lot of things, but the entire family? Like, what the hell did Lou do? I mean, I get it that Lou was probably, this dreamer. He was garbage. He was, racking up all this debt and stuff. But what did he do to everybody that if Will just simply learns about him, that it's gonna be like the end of the Banks and the Smiths? Like what did Lou do? Oh my god, I don't know. They just keep hyping this dude up. All I know is they better deliver because I don't know why Lou is such a big deal, but if you have any thoughts, please let me know. Uncle Phil and his campaign manager try to figure out a plan to debate Fred. Jeffrey gives his opinion on the tactics of playing dirty and calls out Phil for needing to be talked into it. So I like this situation because what's happening right now is Phil is gonna be in a position where he can either take the low road and use Fred's infidelity against him, especially to try and win this debate. Like it's kind of one of those: do you take the high road or the low road? And Jeffrey brings up a really good point that I think some people might miss when he talks about um this would be great for them to see two black men tearing each other down. I think he's speaking to not just politics or whatever, but I think he's also talking to levels of white supremacy, right? Because well, I'm sorry, white supremacy ideology. And it's sad because sometimes part of the ideology is to cause division, right? And in other words, it's kind of like when people see one black person criticizing another, then that criticism can be used against all black people, right? But hey, it's okay when black people say it, right? Kind of like with the N-word, like, well, I saw this other black person calling another black person N-word, so it's okay, right? So that's kind of what Jeffrey is alluding to here, because if you think about it, if Fred and Phil go into a debate and let's say they tear each other down, they oh well, you cheated on your wife or whatever, and let's say Fred wins. Well, guess what? His Republican, opponent will then use that, and it will, they'll use that against Fred. So basically, none of them will win. Neither one will win, because of that type of mudslinging. So that's what Jeffrey's talking about by tearing down each other as black men, because unfortunately, black people already have obstacles as it is. It doesn't help if we're adding to those obstacles by tearing one another down. So I think that's kind of what he was alluding to with that point. Meanwhile, the new Aunt Viv meets the old new Aunt Viv and Will's old mama to display her art. Vivian breaks down about her issues that made her stop painting. The two women let Vivian ramble on and told her that, hey, they're just going to give her the art fellowship anyway. Now Vivian has 24 hours to decide whether she'll take it or not. First off, great cameo. Love the nostalgia. That was great. But did y'all see that picture that Vivian drew? Oh my gosh, that right there, the one that she painted, I think that was James Avery, aka the original Uncle Phil. Rest in peace, James Avery. But yeah, if that was the case, I thought that was a beautiful piece of art, beautiful, tribute to him. So that was like really, that was a really nice touch, I think. But Viv didn't like all the extra stuff that came with painting. And I think that's really interesting to talk about that because as she said, it's fine to do the work. I mean, your passion is in painting. It's doing whatever that creative thing is, but all the extra stuff, that's stuff that like people, you're not always built for. So like you might be a painter, but maybe you're not a promoter, maybe you're not a marketer, maybe you're not a salesperson. You know what I'm saying? So like this, it's one of those things where like, heck, I could relate to that because I mean, I love doing these videos and stuff for y'all, but man, I don't like having to promote and do all the spreading on social media. That's work. Then you got to be your own PR person and stuff. Oh my gosh, it's a lot. So I understand where she's coming from with this. Sometimes it's just nice to be able to just do your passion and then hopefully let somebody else do the work, so you can keep being as creative as you need to be. So I totally understand her stress here. Will comes to Uncle Phil with the report from Jeffrey. Will says that he didn't want to learn more about his father because it could cause some issues for the family and the campaign. Carlton tells Will that he stopped using the drugs that day because of Will. Blue Lives Matter tells Lisa about Will's past, and now she doesn't know what to think. Man, would y'all look at Carlton? My man is getting more mature. Shout out to him. I'm giving this man props now, okay? There's some real growth here that's going on. He even said that it was cool that Lisa and Will are dating. I mean, it ain't. And that he flushed them drugs away. I doubt that. But listen, the decision on Will to not pursue the information on his father, I thought that was really tough. And you could only imagine the thoughts that were probably going through Will's mind, like why did his dad leave, or why did he never come back, or famous question, how come he don't want him, man? Phil confronts Jeffrey about giving Will the information on Will's father. Phil reminds Jeffrey that he works for him, but Jeffrey reminds Phil that sometimes he has to protect the family from Phil's ambitions. Jeffrey keeps it real with Phil, and since Phil can't trust him anymore, he fires Jeffrey. However, Jeffrey says that firing him would raise too many issues, so instead, he'll be on a leave of absence. The two men shake and hug on it. I have to say I really, really appreciated and loved this scene so much, because this was two friends having a real argument, and I've said this before when it came to Viv and Phil, that they would have like good productive arguments. This is also a good productive argument, right? Because they're not like fighting one another. They're having an argument. They're hearing each other out, and at the same time they have such mutual respect and admiration for one another. I just love this is wholesome stuff to see, and I really appreciate that. And I thought it was interesting how Phil allowed Jeffrey to speak his mind, and the only time he drew the line was when Jeffrey was about to speak about his daughter. Now, he didn't say which daughter, so now I'm wondering, like, okay, I know Phil is very protective of like his kids and stuff, and he's a girl dad. Shout out to the girl dads. But I'm wondering, like, are you protective of Hillary, or are you protective of Ashley? Because maybe you do know what she's going through. I don't know. But we'll see how that goes out. But make no mistake about it, though. Jeffrey was right. Okay. Jeffrey was right. Okay. And I don't know how long him and Phil have been friends, but this is clearly very deep for both of them, right? And I love the thing that happens here, which is Jeffrey expresses the truth, where it's like, yeah, you keep saying I work for you and all that stuff, but look, I love this family. Like, he loves the family. He feels a part of the family, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. So I love this so much, because if you think about it, this also harkens back to the original show too. Like, Jeffrey was a part of the family, and I used to love how him and Ashley would always kind of like, have their connections and stuff. But yo, I thought this was a powerful scene, deep scene. And I'm gonna need Phil to go ahead and hire Jeffrey back, because we still got some work to do, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Phil informs Vivian about Will's desire to know more about his father, and also lies about Jeffrey's firing. He does ensure Vivian that they're going to be just fine without Jeffrey, and he leaves for his debate. Vivian starts to paint again, but calls up Janice about the fellowship. She starts complaining about her life, and Janice didn't want to hear none of that, because they have a policy of 24 hours before their candidates can make a decision. So she told Vivian to make up her mind once the 24 hours were done. Lisa comes to the door and confronts Will about his arrest. Carlton tries to intervene, and Lisa hits him with the Ron Isley. Yeah. Will confesses that Uncle Phil broke the law to help him get out of jail. Uncle Phil preps for the debate until Judge Robertson comes into the room, telling him that things didn't have to be this way. Carlton and Will rush in before the debate and tell Uncle Phil that the opponent is going to expose Will's situation. Uncle Phil says that everything is going to be just fine. He goes out and withdraws from the race and concedes to Fred instead. He urges Vivian to take on the fellowship. Well, I gotta say, I have so much respect for Uncle Phil. And my respect for him just went through the roof right here, right? He chose his family over the politics. And remember what I said about the pastor's message earlier before? This is where it actually comes in and it matters. Remember, he talked about serving two masters and how it's better to serve the ones that love you back. Well, guess what? Politics don't love you back. Politics will chew you up and spit you out. So, Phil's family is the better master in this case, because they will love him back, right? And you have to think about it like this. Had Phil gone down the low road, and gone against Fred and brought up the infidelity or whatever, then two families' lives would have been ruined. Fred would have been embarrassed, for cheating on his wife, which he should be. Lisa would have been emotionally damaged beyond repair, learning the truth about that. Let's not forget that Lisa already couldn't adapt to Angela being, in their lives, having a baby, feeling like her mom was getting replaced. And now you find out that like your dad cheated on your mom too. Oh, Lisa might start doing them drugs like Carlton. Who knows, or worse. So that was something on that side. But think about this also, like Phil also saved his own family in the process by withdrawing, because had that situation about Will came out, Will probably would have gone back to jail. Phil also might have been, disbarred or whatever. He probably would have faced criminal charges. His political career would be done for. Maybe he also goes to jail. Then think about the Banks family as a whole. With Phil going to jail, they not supporting themselves no more, not the same way. That political career is done for. And not to mention, think about all the scandal. The media scandal would have been crazy. They already were having issues, with throwing house parties and the sexy chef stuff. This wouldn't have been any better. So Phil did the right thing by making this decision to withdraw from the race and save everybody, I would say, from a lot of consequences and issues. And even like I said, with Fred, he didn't have to go doing the mudslinging because his opponent would have done that to him as well. So this was like a great, great thing. And shout out once again to Phil, because I love it when he represents Black husbands in a positive way. I love it. My man, the first thing he said to Vivian, go take that sponsor, go take that fellowship, because that's what you got to do. You got to support your wife. You got to support your spouse, in these type of things. And, like this, again, it's a great, great representation of like having an equal partnership, where like, now, I mean, he can still, do his job and do his other things and they can live the way they live. But now Vivian gets to go live her life and go do what she wants to do. And I just love the way that this ended. I thought this was a powerful episode. I really, really enjoyed it. But you let me know, what did you think about this episode? Were there any favorite parts, any parts you didn't like? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I want to thank you all so, so much for taking the time to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. This was just a segment of one of my live chats, and if you're interested in joining in on the next one, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications for more. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.